In the ever-accelerating pace of our modern world, we all encounter moments where anger seems to be an unavoidable part of life. Whether it's the stress of deadlines at work, frustration with loved ones, or feeling slighted by strangers, anger tends to rear its head when we least expect it. It often appears so suddenly that it feels like we have no control over it. But what if I told you that the real power over anger isn't about suppressing it or pretending it doesn't exist, but in embracing the ancient wisdom of delaying your response? Welcome to an exploration of emotional mastery and self-control. Today, we'll dive into one of Stoicism's most profound teachings. The greatest remedy for anger is delay. These timeless words were written by the Roman philosopher Seneca almost 2 millennia ago, yet they continue to offer invaluable guidance for the challenges we face today. They carry a potent truth. In the pause between when anger rises and when we respond lies our power to choose our outcome. Mastering this pause can not only improve your relationships and well-being, but it can transform your entire approach to life. But why, you might ask, should we care about controlling our anger? Isn't anger sometimes justified? Doesn't it drive action and signal when something is wrong? The answer, of course, is yes. Anger is a natural and even necessary emotion, often indicating that something important is being threatened or violated. But left unchecked, anger is more destructive than constructive. It can damage our relationships, harm our health, and leave us with regrets that linger far longer than the moments of rage. It's like a wildfire. While it may clear away some dead wood, it also consumes everything in its path, often causing far more harm than good. And while anger itself is a natural emotion, how we respond to it determines whether it becomes a tool for positive change or a weapon of self-destruction. Herein lies the power of Stoicism, the ancient Greek and Roman philosophy that offers us practical tools to manage life's difficulties. The Stoics understood that while we can't always control what happens to us, we can control how we respond. They believed that within the space between an event and our reaction lies the opportunity to exercise wisdom, virtue, and ultimately, freedom. This space, this pause, is where the greatest remedy for anger resides. So, how exactly do we cultivate this delay? And what happens in those crucial moments between the stimulus that triggers our anger and our decision to act? Let's explore this concept through the experiences of 3 individuals from different walks of life: Sarah, Michael, and Alex. Through their stories, you'll learn practical techniques for mastering the art of delay, as well as the real-world benefits of transforming your relationship with anger. Let's begin with Sarah, a driven executive who is constantly balancing an array of responsibilities. Her days are a whirlwind of high-stakes meetings, pressing deadlines, and constant emails. During a particularly stressful afternoon, Sarah finds herself in a meeting where a colleague presents a poorly prepared report. She feels her frustration rising. The old Sarah would have lashed out, publicly criticizing her colleague for wasting everyone's time. But today, Sarah takes a breath. She remembers the words of Marcus Aurelius: "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This wisdom gives her pause. In that moment of delay, she asks herself 3 key questions. What is within my control here? How would my best self respond? Will this matter in a month or a year? These questions create the space she needs to shift from reactive anger to thoughtful action. Rather than allowing her frustration to dictate her response, she calmly addresses the issue with her colleague in a constructive manner. Instead of creating conflict, Sarah turns what could have been a heated exchange into an opportunity for improvement and growth. Her team, instead of feeling demoralized, feels supported and motivated to do better. Now, let's shift to Michael, a high school teacher who deals with an entirely different set of challenges. Michael's job requires immense patience as he navigates the emotional and behavioral complexities of teenagers every day. One afternoon, Michael is teaching when a student begins acting out, disrupting the entire class. Michael feels his anger rising. He's been pushed to his limit. But Michael has been practicing the art of delay. Instead of reacting immediately, he recalls the teachings of Epictetus. It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. He takes a moment to reflect and steps back mentally from the situation. During this brief pause, Michael reminds himself that the student's behavior isn't a personal attack. It's likely a manifestation of something else entirely. Perhaps the student is dealing with personal challenges or frustrations outside of the classroom. By delaying his reaction, Michael transforms his anger into empathy. Instead of escalating the situation, he speaks with the student privately after class, addressing both the behavior and the potential reasons behind it. This approach not only diffuses a potentially explosive confrontation, but also creates a meaningful opportunity for connection and learning. Finally, let's meet Alex, a stay-at-home parent who faces the myriad challenges of raising children. While not in a traditional workplace, Alex's daily life is filled with moments that can easily spark frustration. On a particularly stressful day, Alex finds themselves at the grocery store when their child begins to throw a tantrum, loud, chaotic, and embarrassing. Alex feels the heat of anger and embarrassment rising, especially under the judgmental gazes of other shoppers. In the past, Alex might have reacted sharply, out of frustration and a desire to quickly resolve the situation. But today, Alex pauses. They remember the words of Seneca: "He who is not angry at the sight of evil is not virtuous, but he who does not preserve his calmness amidst his anger is not wise." In that moment of delay, Alex reframes the situation. Instead of seeing their child's outburst as a personal affront or a source of public shame, Alex sees it for what it is: a child struggling with their emotions. They remind themselves that their child isn't giving them a hard time. They are having a hard time. By taking this brief pause, Alex chooses to respond with patience rather than anger. Instead of escalating the situation, Alex kneels down to their child's level, speaks calmly, and addresses the underlying need. The tantrum subsides, and what could have been a scene of conflict becomes an opportunity for understanding. What do these three individuals have in common? They have all embraced the art of delay, not as a way to suppress their emotions, but as a way to create space for wisdom and understanding. In the space that delay provides, they are able to choose their responses thoughtfully, aligning their actions with their values rather than their immediate emotions. But how do we develop this ability to delay our anger? And what happens in our brains during that crucial moment of pause? When we feel anger, our brain's amygdala, the emotional center, kicks into high gear, releasing stress hormones that prepare us for a fight-or-flight response. This reaction, while useful for survival in the wild, often leads to poor decision-making in our modern lives. This is where the practice of delay comes in. By consciously creating a pause, even just for a few seconds, we give our prefrontal cortex, the part of our brain responsible for rational thought and decision-making, a chance to step in. This shift allows us to move from a reactive state to a thoughtful one, where we can consider the long-term consequences of our actions. Building the habit of delay takes practice and patience. Here are 5 practical techniques that can help you create this space in your daily life. The 5-5-5 rule. When you feel anger rising, ask yourself, will this matter in 5 minutes, 5 months, 5 years? This simple mental exercise helps you put the situation into perspective, often revealing that your anger is disproportionate to the problem at hand. Box breathing. This technique, often used by Navy SEALs to manage stress, involves inhaling for 4 counts, holding for 4 counts, exhaling for 4 counts, and holding for 4 counts again. Repeat this cycle 4 times. Box breathing calms your nervous system and gives you the pause you need to respond thoughtfully. The Stoic pause. When faced with a triggering situation, mentally step back as if you were a neutral observer. Ask yourself, what would a wise person do in this situation? This pause creates emotional distance and allows you to respond with clarity. Reframing. During your pause, try to view the situation differently. Instead of seeing it as an attack or a threat, can you view it as a challenge or an opportunity for growth? This shift in perspective can drastically alter your emotional response. The "is it true?" technique. When you feel angry, ask yourself, is this true? Often, our anger is based on assumptions or misinterpretations. This question helps us challenge those assumptions and see the situation more clearly. Practicing these techniques regularly can help you build the habit of delay, but it's important to remember that the goal isn't to never feel anger. Anger is a natural emotion, and sometimes it's even necessary. The goal is to create enough space between the trigger and your response so that you can choose how to act rather than reacting impulsively. This is the essence of emotional mastery, the ability to align your actions with your higher values rather than being driven by your immediate emotions. Let's return to our 3 examples and see how these techniques have helped them in their daily lives. Sarah has made the 5-5-5 rule a part of her regular mental routine. In a recent high-stakes negotiation, she felt her frustration rising when the other party made an offer that seemed insulting. But instead of reacting in anger, Sarah paused and quickly asked herself, will this matter in 5 months or 5 years? By doing so, she realized that while the offer was frustrating, it wasn't worth jeopardizing the entire negotiation over a moment of anger. Her calm and measured response allowed her to continue the conversation productively, ultimately reaching a deal that benefited both parties. Michael has been practicing box breathing during stressful moments in the classroom. One day, when a particularly difficult student was testing his patience, Michael excused himself from the classroom and stepped into the hallway. There, he practiced 4 cycles of box breathing. Those 64 seconds of focused breathing allowed him to return to the classroom calm and composed. Instead of reacting in anger, he addressed the student's behavior firmly but with compassion, turning what could have been a disruptive confrontation into a teachable moment. Alex, our stay-at-home parent, has embraced the Stoic pause as a way of life. One day, after a long and challenging afternoon, Alex's child accidentally spilled juice all over the freshly cleaned floor. In the past, this might have been the last straw, leading to an outburst of frustration. But this time, Alex paused and mentally stepped back, asking, what would a wise parent do in this situation? This moment of reflection allowed Alex to respond with patience, turning the cleanup into a learning moment for the child instead of a moment of conflict. These real-life examples show that the art of delay isn't just a philosophical concept. It's a practical tool that we can use to navigate the complexities of daily life. But what about those moments when anger feels too strong, too justified to delay? This is where we need to dig deeper into the roots of our anger. Often, our anger isn't just about the immediate trigger, but about deeper unmet needs or fears. During your moment of delay, ask yourself, what's really bothering me here? Am I feeling disrespected? Am I feeling powerless? By identifying the underlying cause of your anger, you can address the root of the issue rather than simply reacting to the surface trigger. The Stoics understood that much of our anger comes not from the events themselves, but from our interpretation of those events. As Epictetus famously said, people are not disturbed by things, but by the views they take of them. This insight reminds us that our anger often stems from how we choose to perceive a situation. By delaying our response, we give ourselves the chance to reassess our initial interpretation and choose a more constructive perspective. Let's practice this right now. Think of a recent situation that made you angry. Got it? Now, let's apply the art of delay retrospectively. Take a deep breath and create some mental distance from the event. Ask yourself, what was my interpretation of this situation that led to anger? Is there another way to view the situation that doesn't lead to anger? What need of mine wasn't being met at that moment? If I could go back, how might I respond differently? This exercise isn't about judging your initial reaction. It's about training your mind to create that crucial delay in future situations, giving you the space to choose your response. This reflective practice is a key element of mastering the art of delay. It's not just about controlling anger in the moment, but also about learning from past experiences so that we can improve our emotional responses in the future. Each time you successfully create that pause, you strengthen your ability to manage anger. But even when you fail, as we all inevitably will at times, you can use that failure as a valuable learning opportunity. Stoicism teaches us to approach self-improvement with patience and self-compassion, knowing that mastery is a journey, not a destination. When anger gets the better of us, it's important not to fall into the trap of self-criticism. Instead, reflect on what triggered your reaction, how it felt in your body, and what you could do differently next time. This post-event reflection is an extended form of delay that trains your mind for the next encounter with anger. It helps transform your relationship with the emotion from one of avoidance or fear to one of understanding and control. Now, let's address a common misconception. Delaying anger is not about becoming passive or avoiding confrontation. In fact, the opposite is true. By mastering the art of delay, we become more powerful and assertive in the right ways. Rather than reacting out of pure emotion, we respond with clarity, thoughtfulness, and intention. This allows us to express our needs and boundaries more effectively, without the destructive consequences that come from uncontrolled anger. When we speak from a place of calm strength, our words carry more weight and our actions are more impactful. Consider the words of Marcus Aurelius: "The nearer a man comes to a calm mind, the closer he is to strength." This strength allows us to stand firm in our principles without being overwhelmed by our emotions. It empowers us to say no when necessary, to set boundaries without alienating others, and to handle conflicts in a way that fosters resolution rather than escalation. It is through this calm clarity that we find our greatest power. Not in the heat of anger, but in the coolness of reason. Let's revisit our friends, Sarah, Michael, and Alex, to see how this calm strength has transformed their lives. Sarah, the executive, recently had to confront a team member who consistently missed deadlines. In the past, Sarah might have let her frustration fester until it exploded in a heated confrontation. But now, thanks to the power of delay, she approached the situation differently. Before addressing the issue, she paused, collected her thoughts, and engaged her team member in a calm, constructive conversation. Instead of blaming or criticizing, she focused on the impact of the missed deadlines and worked with her colleague to find solutions. The result? A more productive dialogue, improved performance, and a stronger working relationship. Michael, the high school teacher, faced a challenging conversation with an angry parent who was upset about their child's grade. In the past, Michael might have felt defensive and responded with anger of his own. But using the Stoic principle of delay, Michael took a moment to reflect before reacting. He asked himself, "Is this parent's anger really about me, or is it coming from their concern for their child?" By reframing the situation, Michael was able to approach the conversation with empathy, explaining the grading process calmly while also offering strategies for the student to improve. This turned what could have been a confrontation into a collaborative effort to support the student's success. As for Alex, the stay-at-home parent, delay has become a vital tool for managing the daily frustrations of parenting. Recently, after a long and exhausting day, Alex's child threw a fit over something trivial, spilling juice on the freshly cleaned floor in the process. In the past, this might have pushed Alex over the edge, leading to an angry outburst. But instead of reacting immediately, Alex took a deep breath and mentally stepped back from the situation. By creating that space, Alex was able to see the spill for what it was, a minor inconvenience, not a personal attack. Rather than yelling, Alex turned the cleanup into a fun game, teaching responsibility in a way that maintained a positive atmosphere. This small victory transformed a potentially frustrating moment into a bonding experience. These examples illustrate that the art of delay isn't just about avoiding anger. It's about creating opportunities for growth, understanding, and connection. By pausing before reacting, we not only prevent negative outcomes, but also open up the possibility for positive, life-affirming interactions. This is the real power of delay. It allows us to transform moments of tension into moments of insight and moments of frustration into moments of growth. But what about those times when delaying anger feels impossible? When the emotion rises so quickly and intensely that we react before we even have time to consider delay. This is where the practice of mindfulness comes into play. Regular mindfulness exercises can increase our overall awareness of our emotions, helping us catch anger early before it overwhelms us. When we become more attuned to our emotional landscape, we can more easily recognize the first signs of anger and create the space for delay. Try this simple mindfulness exercise several times throughout your day. Pause and take a moment to check in with yourself. What emotions are you feeling right now? Where do you feel them in your body? Are your shoulders tense? Is your jaw clenched? By regularly tuning into your emotional and physical state, you'll become more adept at noticing the early signs of anger, giving you more opportunities to apply the art of delay before the emotion takes over. Remember, mastering the art of delay is a lifelong practice. There will be times when you succeed in pausing before reacting, and there will be times when anger gets the better of you. The key is to approach this practice with self-compassion and patience. As Epictetus said, we should not be angry with ourselves when we fail, but should keep educating ourselves without any sense of hostility. Each time you successfully delay an angry response, celebrate that victory, no matter how small. And when you do react in anger, use it as a learning opportunity. Reflect on what triggered your anger, how it felt in your body, and what you might do differently next time. This reflective practice is a powerful tool for personal growth. By consistently reflecting on our emotional responses, we can train ourselves to recognize anger earlier, delay our reactions, and respond more thoughtfully in the future. In this way, we can gradually transform our relationship with anger, moving from a reactive stance to a more deliberate, thoughtful approach. Let's summarize the key takeaways from our journey through the art of delaying anger. Anger itself is not the enemy. It's a natural emotion that often signals that something important to us is at stake. The key is not to suppress anger, but to manage it wisely. The power lies in the pause. In the space between the trigger and our response, we have the opportunity to choose how to act. This pause allows us to shift from reacting emotionally to responding rationally. Delaying anger requires practice. Techniques like the 5-5-5 rule, box breathing, the Stoic pause, reframing, and mindfulness can help us cultivate the habit of delay in our daily lives. Delaying anger is not about avoiding confrontation. It's about responding with calm clarity, which makes our words and actions more effective and constructive. Mindfulness can help us catch anger early. By regularly checking in with ourselves and becoming more aware of our emotional state, we can create more opportunities for delay before anger takes over. Mastering the art of delay is an ongoing journey. There will be successes and setbacks, but each moment of anger is an opportunity to practice, learn, and grow. As you move forward from this exploration, I encourage you to embrace each moment of anger as an opportunity to practice the art of delay. Start small. Even a brief pause of a few seconds can make a significant difference in how you respond. Over time, as you continue to practice and refine your ability to delay, these small pauses will grow longer, giving you more space to choose your response wisely. Remember Seneca's words, "The greatest remedy for anger is delay." In this simple statement lies a profound truth, that within each of us is the power to transform our relationship with anger. By mastering the art of delay, we not only avoid the destructive consequences of uncontrolled anger, but also open ourselves up to more compassionate, thoughtful, and effective ways of engaging with the world. So, the next time you feel anger rising, take a breath. Pause. In that tiny space between stimulus and response, you will find your power. The power to choose, to respond rather than react, to understand rather than judge, and to build rather than destroy. As you conclude this journey with me, I invite you to take the lessons of Stoicism with you into your everyday life. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this exploration with others who may benefit from these timeless teachings. By spreading this wisdom, we can collectively create a world where people respond to anger not with impulsiveness, but with patience, empathy, and understanding. Thank you for joining me on this journey. And as you go forth, may you wield the power of delay with wisdom and grace, transforming not only your relationship with anger, but also your relationships with those around you. The path to emotional mastery is long, but every step forward brings greater peace, stronger connections, and a deeper understanding of ourselves and others.